Hello everyone, today I'm coming with a mail day, something that came in today, something that I haven't really looked at much lately, and that is a 1974 starter set. Now I think the dealer, if I remember, promised 300 cards that were not in great shape. This was kind of a discount lot, and he included some extras that are in what he described as poor shape, such as that they had crease or not. So there were 300 cards that were in okay shape, and then some bonuses that were in poor shape that he just threw in for free. And so I'm thinking that the ones in poor shape probably came in the second smaller box. These were both kind of thrown in a large envelope together, and so if it was just 300 cards, then this was going to turn out to be less than 10 cents a card even at 300 cards. So, and I don't know that much about 70s baseball players. If I've heard of them, then it's probably a pretty decent player. But I have heard of Del Unser, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted this set in the first place, because I did not have a 74 Topps Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan is my personal favorite, and I did not have this card. It's obviously in beat up shape. There's a crease in the corner. It's just kind of wrinkly all over. There's some old tape on it, but I don't think it had a vintage one Marischal. And there's the other Nolan Ryan. It's a 73 strikeout leaders with Tom Seaver. So I'm thinking that I probably picked up the stack I should have saved for last, and right here. But these were the cards that were highlighted in the auction. We got a Pete Rose, Rod Carew, Reggie Jackson, Willie Stargell, home run leaders. Norm Cash, I have heard of him. Lou Piniella, back when he was an outfielder for the Royals. Al Downing, Yankees team card. Miscut Brooks Robinson, Ron Santo. Dick Allen, Hank Aaron. Bobby Mercer and Pete Rose. Catfish Hunter with Rick Wise. So those are some of the good cards right there, and I'm going to put the Nolan on top of that stack. So hopefully the rest of this video doesn't go downhill from there, but let's take a look here. So we've got a Phillies Checklist, Expos, Larry Durker became a manager, Joe Liss, Jim Schellenbach, Bob Stinson, Gail Hopkins, LeRon Lee, Mike Epstein, Fernando Gonzalez, Juan Beniquez, I've heard of him, Terry Harmon, Chuck Brinkman, Milt Pappas, Ken Sanders, and that's all wrinkled up, Dave Goltz, John Edwards, manager Eddie Matthews, George Culver, Tommy Agee, Ivan Morrell, Carl Taylor, Pirates, Ollie Brown, Celerino Sanchez, Phil Gagliano, Bernie Carbo, there's someone I've heard of, Mike Anderson, Jim Mason, Ted Ford, Larry Gura, Johnny Jeter, Adrian Devine, he became a Ranger later, Luke Walker, Rick Stelmasic. There's a Dave Kingman, oh, it's got a big wrinkle across of it. Okay, rookie pictures, Frank Tanana. All right. More rookie pictures with Glenn Abbott, Rick Henniger. Rookie shortstops, Pete Mackinnon became a manager of the Nashville Sounds in the 90s. Manny Trio. See Wayne Garland, I've heard of him. Steve Blass, the Steve Blass disease named after him. Leroy Stanton, Steve Yeager, Ed Bain, Sonny Jackson, Rogelio Moret. He went down in the Ranger history book. He once went to a catatonic trance in the middle of a game in the clubhouse. So, got to be known for something. Boots Day, Larry Christensen, and Jack Brohamer. Rest of this box, we have Merv Redmond, Marty Patton, Bucky Dent, Fred Norman, Mike Sadek, Mike Adams, Enzo Hernandez, Rich Hand, Ralph Garr, Rick Dempsey. Mike Torres, Red Sox. Jackie Hernandez, Jim McLaughlin. Dave Campbell, Tim Johnson, Denny Doyle, Sam McDowell, Mike Jorgensen, Glenn Borgman, Mike Corkins, Billy Canigliaro with a big crease across it, Ron Schuler, Danny Cater, Cleveland, Bob Patterson, Lloyd Allen, Cesar Tovar, heard of him, Steve Mingori, Duffy Dyer, Bob Tolan, Eddie Watt, Mike Phillips, Skip Lockwood, Gene Mauch, he was manager for quite a while. Heard of Larry Doby as well. Mickey Stanley, Horace Clark, Bill Bonham, Bobby Darwin, Fred Tepedino, Bill Plummer, Bill Sharp, Mike Hegan, Horatio Pina, Paul Schall, Joe LaHood, Toby Hara went on to all-time great Ranger, Jesse Jefferson, Expos, Bill Buckner. How far in his career? So that was about his 5th year. There's Joe Negro, Dave LaRoche, Pat Corrales, Bobby Mitchell, Tom Murphy, Dick McAuliffe, Ed Goodson, Joe Horner, Mike Rogodzinski, Roger Nelson, Andy Etchebarren, Steve Stone went on to become a broadcaster, Carmen Fanzone, it's probably not how you pronounce it, but a great name, Fanzone, Braves, Bob Didier, Willie Crawford, A's celebrates 2nd consecutive championship, Joe Decker, Dick Bosman. So that is all of the smaller box. Moving on to the bigger box here, and that is packed full of cards. I wonder if this was the stack of all of the poor shaped cards. This one is packed solid, so I wonder if these are going to be in better shape. Randy Moffat, Bert Campaneris, Astros, John Matlack, became a Ranger, Oscar Gamble, John Mayberry. His son was a #1 draft pick for the Rangers probably 15 years ago. Mac Scarce, Dave Hilton, Bart Johnson, Doc Ellis was, I think, a pretty good pitcher. Walter Alston with Tommy Lasorda as a coach. Dick Woodson, Aurelio Monteagudo, Al Bumbry, Rick Russell, pitched for a while. Yeah, that's about his 2nd or 3rd year card. David Clyde was an interesting Ranger story, that he was drafted out of high school with the #1 pick in the nation, and the struggling Rangers of 1973 needed to get people in the seats, and so they brought this guy who was probably a world-class phenom, skipped the minors completely, took him straight to the majors, and probably ended up ruining his career because he didn't get the proper development time. But interesting I wonder if that's his rookie card. Chris Spear, John Ellis, Nate Colbert, Bob Coluccio, Wilbur Wood, Bill Spaceman Lee, Ron Blomberg, was the guy that was the all-time first DH, I think. Jerry Royce became a long career. Angels, Dick Drago, Clay Carroll, Ron Bryant, Sal Bando, Bill Grief, Bobby Valentine, Rangers and Mets manager, Bert Blyleven. So he'd already been pitching for about 4 years before that one. Bob Bailey, Jerry Hairston, Rod Gilbreth, Freddie Patek, Ferguson Jenkins as a Ranger. Had a really good 74 season, I think, with them. So instead of airbrushing the logo, they just found one without a helmet. Rick Wise, Orlando Cepeda, Frank Duffy, Gene Tennis, Jim Colburn, Minnesota Twins. Mike Marshall went on for a long career. Aurelio Rodriguez. Danny Frisella, Grant Jackson. Tommy Helms. Sparky Lyle. Doug Rao. Bill Sadakis. Bob Locker. Luis Aparicio. Near the end of his career, Ross Grimsley, Charlie Spikes, Bobby Heiss, Steve Rinko, Dick Sharon, Dave Johnson, Jim Wynn, Bobby Floyd, Ken Suarez, Dave Sells, Don Newhouser, Johnny Grubb, Preston Gomez with Roger Craig, went on to be a Giants manager later, Manny Sanguian, Ken Singleton, Cy Acosta. If you're going to be a pitcher, might as well be named Cy. Bob Gallagher, Jerry Moses, Gary Thomason, Doug Bird, Orioles, Paul Popovich, Tom Hilgendorf, Dave May, Jim Bibby, Catfish Hunter, and a checked checklist. Next handful, we've got Bob Reynolds, Jerry Morales, Stan Bonson, John Bocabella, George Mitterwald, Tom Hall, A's, Carl Morton, Bill Gogolewski, Glenn Beckert, not Glenn Beck, but Glenn Beckert, Joe Coleman, Bill Russell, Fran Haley, George's brother, Red Schoendist, Jim Barr, Steve Bry, Dick Tidrow, Tony Perez from the Big Red Machine, Fritz Peterson, Ted Kubiak, and I've never seen one of these cards that actually had a dotted line on it like that. Paul Splitorf, Roger Metzger, Ramon Hernandez, Chuck Tanner, with Johnny Sane, Doug Griffin, Billy Grabarkowitz, Dave Rader, Raleigh Fingers. All right. Interesting Cubs checklist here that they just took a picture of some promo flyer there. Bill Singer, Mike Marshall, Mike Kikich, Jim Fregosi. Had a decent career, I think. Carlos May, Darrell Porter, Mario Guerrero, Jim Brewer, Rudy Mioli, Fred Sherman, Jose Cardinal. Rangers, old Texas-shaped scoreboard at the that they had back then. Lindy McDaniel, Cesar Geronimo, Gary Maddox, Bill Robinson, Randy Jones, in pretty good shape, Gene Kleins, Eduardo Rodriguez, Bill Melton, Jack McKeon has been managing forever. Didn't even need 4 coaches, I guess. Willie Davis, longtime Brave great. Tom House became the Rangers pitching coach and had his pitchers throw footballs for strength and conditioning, and everyone thought it was silly until Nolan Ryan showed up and went with the plan. Ken Berry, Bill Freehan, Jim Rayhart, Jack Billingham, Vic Harris, and rookie pitchers, don't know them. Okay, we're halfway through the second box. The next handful here. Steve Busby became a Rangers announcer for many years. Clarence Gaston, Hal King, Don Carithers, Brent Strom, I'm a fan already, Dal Maxwell, Buddy Bradford, Dave Nelson, Whitey Lockman, Rich Coggins, Ron Reed, and I'll skip John Vukovic, Bill North, Mike Caldwell, Royals, Amos Otis and Cesar Cedeno. Carlton Fisk and Johnny Bench. Skip Jutz. Tom Timmerman. Ernie McAnally. Steve Braun. Randy Hundley. Jim Merritt. Richie Zisk. Brewers. Barry Lurch. Darren Johnson. Jerry Grote. Terry Forster. Dave Roberts. Bruce Del Cannon. Luis Melendez. The longtime manager Earl Weaver. With Billy Hunter. Tito Fuentes. Don Wilson. George Hendrick. Rudy May. Bob Montgomery. Rorick Harrison. Hal Breeden. Ray Corbin. Rick Monday. Chuck Seelbach. Vida Blue. Rick Auerbach. Gorman Thomas. Someone sent me a through the mail autograph of him recently. Clay Kirby. Tony Muser. Dave Duncan. Doyle Alexander. Pretty long career. Giants. Jim Crawford. Cookie Rojas. Gary Nolan. Had pretty good years for the Reds, I think. Bobby Winkles. And as I look at all these manager cards, I also want to pay close attention to the coaches. I believe that Nolan Ryan named his son Reese Ryan in honor of Jimmy Reese. Fred Bean, Paul Casanova, Bill Hands, Ron Santo, Bob Johnson, Tom Grieve. Went from outfielder to ticket sales with the Rangers to front office to the general manager in the 80s, and then went to the broadcast booth. So a long-time Ranger there. Andy Messersmith had a long career at the Dodgers. Jim Northrup, Ed Kirkpatrick, Ted Simmons. Another good name here. So this is certainly more than just the commons from this era. I'm very happy with this. Jose Cruz. I guess that's the same Jose Cruz that eventually became an Astro. Pat Dobson. There's the Reds checklist. Tom Bradley. Kurt Bavacqua. Baylor Moore. Gene Heiser. Rich Hebner. Tom McGraw. Vic DeValillo. Tom Hutton. Alan Foster. Tom Ragland. Norm Miller. Ed Herman. Jim Little. Don Hood. Ken McMullen. Chris Arnold. Gene Garber. Gary Sutherland. Bobby Bolin. Rennie Stinnett. Pete Broberg. Fred Stanley. Gonzalo Marquez. Dan Fife. Ray Fosse, the guy that Pete Rose took out and became an A's broadcaster. Wayne Twitchell. Walt Williams. Rich Folkers. White Sox. Frank Baker. Pedro Borbon. I remember his son pitching in the early 90s. Charlie Huff. Is that a rookie card? Not quite. Probably his second or third year card, but he went on to pitch for the Marlins. I doubt no one else that I've looked at today went on to have a career that went on as long as his did. Jim Wolford, Steve Arlen, Ellie Rodriguez, Jim Howarth, Darrell Johnson with Don Zimmer, Elliot Maddox, Mike Paul, Tommy Davis, Doug Rader became a manager, Ken Henderson, Orlando Pena, Billy Champion, Phil Roof, Rich Morales, Chris Chambliss, Phillies, Bob Moose, Charlie Sands, Bert Hooton, had a long career, Jorge Orta, Earl Williams, Marty Perez, John Curtis, Ken Reitz, Bob Watson, I think he took a baseball front office position, Paul Lindblad, and we're going to finish off with a Manny Mota, who had already played for many years and went on to play many more after that. So all in all, the seller promised 300 cards in okay shape plus extras that were in poor shape. I'm thinking what he did was he just counted off about, I don't know, 350 cards and said some of them are good, some of them aren't good, and let you figure out which are which on here. The guy did have several other auctions of 74 tops. He must have really loved that one year. And this one was the one that he had the cheapest, that he just put a buy it now price on. The rest of them, the cards are in better shape, and he had better, starting prices were a little bit better also, but he had lots of other lots of 74 tops. So hope you enjoyed looking through these as much as I did. Thanks for watching. Bye.